Mr. Alcazar?
Present.
Mr. M. Berenson?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Tuari?
We actually lost Mr. Tuari, it looks like.
He has got the Wi-Fi issue, probably.
Yeah.
Any,
Oh, wait, I think he's coming back.
Yeah, I think I see something there.
April, can you call him out? So
Mr. Tuari?
Rendra, you're muted.
And
Roll
Chairman
call.
Galtieri. Chairman Galtieri.
All right, we'll watch for Mr. Tuari then. Okay, I would ask everybody to mute while we do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 231, New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the giving of notice to the Courier News, posting the agenda in the public lobby of the building 48 hours prior to the meeting. Delivery of this notice to the Franklin Township Clerk at least 48 hours prior to this meeting, and mailing notice to those persons properly requesting to be mailed notification of meetings at least 48 hours prior to this meeting. And Mr. Attorney.
in addition, because we are in the middle of a COVID pandemic, Mr. Chairman, and we are conducting this meeting electronically via GoToMeeting, which is in accordance with Chapter 2 of the Public Laws of 2020, probably Chapter 11 of the Public Laws of 2020, and the recently adopted local finance notices created by the Department of Division of Community Affairs, Department of Local Government Services.
Thank you very much. All right, as a reminder, as you make a motion or second, if you could just say your name so that it's easier to record. With that, is there a motion to open the meeting for public comments?
motion, Ram.
Is there a second?
Second, Jesus.
Thank you. All those in favor of opening the meeting for public comments, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? All right, Mr. Executive Director, do we have anybody on the call that's from the public?
I see no members of the public in the meeting.
Okay, seeing no members of the public, is there a motion to close the meeting for public comments?
Motion, Ram.
Is there a second?
Second, Tiwari.
Thank you. All those in favor of closing the meeting for public comments, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, moving along. Has everybody had a chance to review the working session monthly from October 6th, 2020? If so, then I would, if there are no correction, or are there any corrections, clarifications, revisions needed?
I have a question.
Okay.
So those minutes, they also talked about the executive committee minutes.
Excuse me,
approved.
Arnie, may I jump in here? Eric, I'm gonna keep you muted, not unmute yourself. You're giving background noise to the meeting. There you go. Go ahead, Commissioner Schmidt.
Okay, in those minutes, it talks about the executive committee minutes from March through September of this past year. And in each of those, it shows that when it came to the vote, I abstained in every single one of those votes. Now, it's possible that I did. I don't recall abstaining in all of them. But usually I'm not even able to vote. So I'm not sure, either way, whatever, but I just don't remember abstaining. But if April, you say that's what happens, happened, then it happened. I just don't recall because it's against my nature to abstain maybe once or twice, but all of them, I don't know why I would do that. But anyway, I'm just bringing that up.
I believe you had decided to abstain because you were unable to get any copies of the minutes to read before the meeting because you didn't have the iPad access. And then so you said that you would.
April
Did she
froze.
freeze on me?
Yeah, she froze.
Not-
But that was the reason, Arnie, I remember that was the reason.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
that does make sense then, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so any other comments or changes, questions, revisions? If not, is there a motion to approve the working session monthly board meeting minutes from October 6th, 2020?
Motion.
Thank you.
Tiwari.
Is there a second?
Second, Ram.
Okay, roll call, please. April, you're on mute.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Amberenson,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Oh, I get to vote, yes.
Mr. Tiwari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes.
Eric, am I correct with that? Because both Brianna and Commissioner Ford are both out? Okay. Yay.
Yay.
Careful with your wish for Arnie. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
all right, moving on to executive summary, professional reports. Take it away.
Thank you, Chairman. So generally, everything's running very well. We had some things move forward and some things produce bumps in the road. Under legal, everything's moving forward. The bankruptcy list was reviewed. All but 4 of those cases are going to tax sale. We have a legal opinion from our attorney. I countered his opinion with another concept, and he is going to further review that. Our travel policy is still continues and is in place. Not sure where we are exactly on the surety bond survey. I believe we're basically going to next time we receive one, we're going to draft a response and then send everything to the attorney. Attorney will give its blessing, report back to us, and then we may or may not respond with it. The escrow accounts, the opinion was received from the attorney. It seemed very accurate and thorough, and staff has since started a development of a workflow and a program to deal with the escrow accounts. Southbound Brook, not much moving on that, but I'll bring Southbound Brook some more details up later. But we are in a state of readiness, legal readiness for whenever they do something. The interim executive director issue, as far as the legal work, has been completed. And we are currently in the IRS penalty being reviewed by the attorney. At some point, we'll have a plan. Do we pay the arbitrary amount? It's not a big amount, but do we want to pay it or not? Marcy Street, which is being managed by our engineer from CME, is still in the green category. I'll let Joe Jamel report on the details, but tonight we do have a resolution for the bonding total for $7.5 million. I explained to the chairman the departure, the change in numbers was simply a miscommunication with the prior executive director and the engineer. And that's relative to what we put on our budget for last year. That is approximately a $1.8 million difference. So in short, basically what we put in the budget, our annual budget last year for Marcy Street was $5.2 million, $3 million of which we'd be paying out of cash from a dedicated fund that should be used solely for projects like Marcy Street. However, the miscommunication was that the previous executive director, thought that was the total cost of the project. That number did not include the soft costs, like management, engineering, administration, et cetera, et cetera. My understanding is those soft costs are determined by a formula the iBank uses, and it uses on every project. And they basically come up with a number. They add it to the construction costs. You take those two numbers plus, I guess, some sort of buffer amount, and that's what your bonding resolution would contain. Tonight's bonding resolution does contain all that. It's customary and regular in nature, and has been thoroughly reviewed by our bonding attorney at McManaman Scotland Law Firm. The attorney that was assigned to this account has since left that law firm and replaced with an equally competent attorney, which has also given us an opinion that 7.5 is responsible. That I'll bring to your attention, everyone. This doesn't mean we're going to be borrowing that much, and it doesn't mean we're going to be spending that much. This is just an amount that would cover everything foreseeable and a little bit of unforeseeable expenses should we want to do that. Moving on, there doesn't seem to be any that I'm aware of to be any other delays or anything that would exist that would provide a delay in the Marcy Street rehab project. And that being said, I'd like to ask Joe Jamel to report any details he feels that would be helpful.
Okay, thank you, Joe. We received from the DEP our authorization to advertise at the end of October. I believe it was the 20th of October. We published the notification on the 23rd in the public newspapers. So we're right now out to bid, and we are set to receive bids on December the 8th with anticipation of awarding that at the January meeting of the authority. We would review the bids after receipt on the 8th and prepare a recommendation for award of that project. We have had some inquiries from contractors as well as some of the bidding services about the project, so there is interest, and I expect a good turnout and bids to be submitted.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Joe, can you just refresh our memory? How long do we expect this project to take?
We're looking at approximately a year to 14 months. So we would anticipate starting construction in the spring and then working continually through the summer and the fall. As you may recall, part of the project is lining of the mains, but the biggest impact for the residents will be the lateral replacements, which will be an excavation between the main and the curb and installation of new laterals and cleanouts. So that'll be the impact to the residents. And at the end of the project, we have included in there curb to curb resurfacing of the roadways, milling and resurfacing. So
Okay.
roads will be in good shape when they're finished.
Good. And for that, do we have to let it sit for X number of months, or is there a time frame for that, or?
Usually that's the a 90-day period.
Okay.
To allow any kind of trench settlement. We are using a select material for the trench backfill with dense graded aggregate, which does not typically settle because it compacts rather well. So we would anticipate getting the compaction right away and then doing the final paving within that 90-day period.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Joe Kamel on this project?
All right,
None?
thank you, Chairman. All right, moving on to Joe's other project, the Hamilton Street Pump Station. What's significant now is PSC&G still has not finished the connection of the gas main. They're currently waiting for a meter. If that doesn't happen within the next week, I'll call over to management and see if I can't rattle their cage. We finally got a date for the water meter to be scheduled to be installed. I think it's going to happen within the next week. I could confirm with Robert Comandini, but I think the township manager rattled the cage of DEPW manager, and we finally got actually, we never got an acknowledgement to our emails, but he's making that happen. So Joe, just want to ask you to give some details on the update, specifically what we covered in our construction meeting. And also, do you have, Joe or Jamel, do you have, we had a closing date just recently. Do you recall what that exact date was?
Yes, the interim financing for the project, the closing took place in mid-September. I believe it was the 14th. What that means to the authority is at this point, any of the costs or funds that have been outlaid out of pocket can be submitted to the DEP and iBank for reimbursement through the loan program. This is on the short-term basis. Once the project is completed, there'll be a long-term closing where the financing will be permanent, and they'll establish a repayment schedule. That was the closing that took place recently. So now you'll be able to actually recoup and replenish the authority funds for anything that had been outlaid during the construction. Right now, I believe the report indicated that we were about 80 some odd % complete as far as the funding, the financing of the project. So the construction cost is $3 million. So 86% of that has been outlaid by the authority. This way, you can request reimbursement from the iBank for those funds that have been outlaid. The status report also included a couple of aerial photographs of the progress of the construction. Contractor's making good progress. He's getting ready to do the final paving and working on the final site work. Once the water meter and the gas meter are installed, we can complete all of the testing, the final testing of the project, and then go online. We would anticipate that happening before the end of the month, which is ahead of schedule. We are also under our construction cost budget for the project, the bid amount of the $3,032,000 some odd. So things are looking in good shape.
Joe, you said September, but didn't that closing happen in October, mid-October? Wasn't it last month?
I believe it was October 14th.
Yeah.
It's over. Okay.
All good. All good.
Yeah, it was delayed several times, but
October 14th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was the 14th. Yeah.
And Commissioner Alcazar, do the photos match what you're seeing? He's still muted.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Kamel on the Hamilton Street project?
The site is looking really good. It's all coming together with site drainage, curbing, the grading. It's starting to really look like a nice installation. So, and it's moving along. As long as we can get PSC&G in the town to do their stuff, the staff can complete their training, and hopefully we'll be online soon.
Good. One thing to note, can we please note that Commissioner Ford joined at 6:52?
Got it. Yep.
Hello, Commissioner Ford. You're muted.
Hello.
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 Hey, Teresa.
All right.
Happy Biden Day.
Hope so.
Okay. Any other questions about Hamilton Street?
Mhm. I'll just add in that as far as the requisitions are with the closing on the 14th, I'm already in communication with DEP and also have all the documents and the exhibits from iBank. So I'm working on requesting the reimbursement to the authority at this time.
Okay, that's good news.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Moving along.
Thank you, Chairman. So Somerset Street is moving along. It's green. I'm sorry. Actually, this is not. So this is not green anymore. This is the closeout of our old contractor, and it's still somewhat dangling on us. Howard, do you want to give us a few words on
Sure.
this
Sure, yeah,
contractor?
it's definitely frustrating, and I realize that
We're halfway through, though, right?
we're halfway through the tail end of the closeout here. I'll be issuing a letter to the contractor in the next day or so, clarifying for him that the authority is looking to issue the final payment at the December meeting, so that he needs to get his ducks in a row in terms of negotiating with me on the final payment. And if you don't take an action for a payment, then you're going to be looking to do something else. All this trying to get him to get in gear and close this thing out. But it's the only thing that's remaining at this point. So there's no further work that's required.
All this effort for us to give him money.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've never seen somebody not want money. Okay.
All right, Howard, since we're talking about the Somerset Street pump station, let's just stay on to the rehab.
Okay.
As we reported last week, we did schedule a smoke test that's been delayed, and it's kind of a good thing that's delayed since our operations manager is out on disability, but should be returning shortly. Once that happens, we'll put that into fast gear and make it happen. And regarding the rehab and your Howard's design work, I know you're still waiting for PSC&G for that electrical design work. Howard, you want to give a little background on that?
Yeah, so we had wanted to get some fairly detailed information on the transformer that feeds the pump station, because we're going to be coming right up to the very limit of the 400 amp service, and we want to make sure that the transformer that PSC&G has out on the street is adequate for that, and that they're aware of what we have planned. And we have calls into them, a couple calls with some reminder emails, and they haven't gotten back to us yet. So we're still waiting to hear from them.
Okay, so there's a little delay, but nothing so significant we can't stay in the green.
I would anticipate we'll hear in the next week or two.
Okay. Howard, you're also managing the next project, which is East Millstone. You want to give an update on that?
Sure. But so we heard from Delaware and Raritan Canal that the approval was given. They had two conditions, one of which was they required us to put some plants along the property line that abuts the canal park, which we have added to the drawings. I have to submit those back to the Delaware and Raritan Canal to get their concurrence that it's adequate, but they give you a list of plants to choose from. So I think it's kind of a formality. And we also were given the approval by the State Historic Preservation Office, which was another one of the conditions that Delaware and Raritan Canal had. So at this point, we are good to go. I'm pulling together the final set of drawings, which will be the bid set. And Scott has requested that he have one final crack at the set to make sure that he's comfortable with what it shows. And after he completes his review, then we would be ready to go to bid. And it's my understanding that the authority has actually given the interim executive director authorization to go to bid once we get to that point. So we don't necessarily have to wait until the next meeting to do it if we're ready.
I'm going to also assume the attorney wants to look at that final.
Correct. Yeah, he's already seen the full spec, but.
All right. And it's my understanding, Howard, you should be ready in about within 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Something like that. Yeah, I think that's true.
All right. Does anybody have any questions regarding East Millstone?
So Howard, how long would the construction take if everything's, when would we expect, if everything goes smoothly, which it won't because it's the holiday time, but when do you expect to start construction ideally and how long?
In terms of notice to proceed or actually shovel in the ground?
Actual shovel in the ground.
April-ish.
Okay. And how long would construction take roughly?
I think I think we can probably include somewhere around 7 or 8 months.
Okay. So Scott's only going to suffer for about another year at
Yes,
most. Okay.
right. And to wring his hands for a little while longer.
All right. I think that's still better than the duct tape supply that he was stocking up for another
right.
3 years. So, okay. So in all seriousness, that's good news that we're moving ahead. I do understand that the holidays are coming up, so it makes it a little tougher on the bid process, but hopefully by January we can get through everything then. Fortunately. All right. Any other questions on East Millstone then?
Okay, well, Chairman, the other one is the high bay garage. So we put that on a back burner, so there's no update to that. And the general engineering is doing fine. CME is supervising our process with that we're involved with New Brunswick, and that's going fine. I'll later during my executive director's report, I'll have Christian and CME comment further on New Brunswick and South Brown Brook.
Okay. Any other questions about for the professional reports? Okay, let's move on to the executive director summary then, please.
Okay, for the executive director report, under the revenue, we're doing fine. Not perfect, but we're doing fine. In August, September, we received $671,164.39. Year to date, we have collected $4,192,876.17. We do have an open balance of $3,011,523.88. This past month, we had penalties generated that were forgiven of $11,634.66. Year to date, total of penalties was $123,522.12. Our expenditures for the month of $507,176.05. Year to date is $3,005,102.91. We're in line with the percentage of our annual budget to expenditures. We're at about 26%. Under our cash position, we're doing fantastic. Under unrestricted, we have $1,039,528.65. Under restricted, we have $10,942,750.75. And under designated, we have $7,865,048.75, totaling $19,847,328. So that is under that's our financial outlook. I think it looks pretty healthy. I don't have any red or yellow flags or things to concern about, but potentially a discussion item further down. Chairman, if you don't have any financial discussions or questions, I'll just continue down my report.
No, I think right now, so I guess just to be clear, the checks that we have are pretty much the revenue we have is pretty much in line with what we would have expected for October. I assume it's October of last year.
I did a week-to-week and a month-to-month comparison, and I looked at also my graph comparison for the last 3 years. So the last 2 months have been lower than years past, a month-to-month comparison. So it is a 2-month indication that is comparatively lower, but 2 months, in my opinion, does not constitute a trend, but it may be an indicator. So it's not remarkable enough for me to bring to your attention on my own. We went through the same thing in May and June, and then it went back up and then some. The rolling averages are within acceptable average limits. So that's why I'm not worried about the last month or two, actually really last month, which is significant, well, noticeably lower in comparison to last year, but we have not gone down a road enough to call it a trend.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We, as I reported last month, we did have our annual 2020 audit. I did speak to the auditor. He did contact April and I and asked for an extension. I had no reason not to give him an extension. He will be ready. He does anticipate to be ready to present the audit on time. He is fully in progress. I think we are even paying him his partial fee, and he will present the audit to April and I prior to coming to the full board meeting for his presentation. So there's nothing really to report other than he needed more time, which is understandable, knowing that a lot of things just don't happen as fast because everyone's working from home. So we did have our bonding settlement for the Hamilton Street for the short-term notes. The report says the dates continue to be pushed back, but that's inaccurate. We actually closed last month, a couple of weeks ago. All right, COVID-19 status. We did have 3 staff members that went into full quarantine. Everyone's fine, but we had 2 staff members that had confirmed contact with a positive COVID person, but did not test positive themselves. And we had 1 staff member that absolutely tested positive, along with all the other family members in that staff member's house. Upon me receiving this notice, I surveyed those staff members and spoke to them, kind of backtracked what the contact window was, the incubation window, the contagious window, and then we directed them appropriately according to acceptable procedures what to do. Basically, they had to stay away from people for different amounts of time and get consecutive PCR COVID tests until they were able to produce 2 tests that demonstrated that they were negative. The third staff member that did test positive, along with all the family members in the house, that member was just simply told to stay home and take care of themselves until they're better, since they were positive. That staff member was and still is able to work, and there was no reason to put that person on disability or anything because they were near symptom free. The 4th member that dealt with this is myself, the interim executive director. My family was notified that my daughter's boyfriend's mother was positive, and my daughter spent a considerable amount of time in their home. So I immediately started scheduling consecutive serial testing for my family. I reported that to the executive director and the board attorney, and I was asked to immediately go into work from home mode. That was last week. We tested Thursday and we tested Friday. Turns out we all came out negative, which made me safe. And then, unfortunately, on Halloween, we were with the one family we do socialize with, and yesterday afternoon, I was told that person was tested positive.
Mr. Interim Executive Director, just for the record, I'll note that the Interim Executive Director reached out to the attorney and the chairman. He notified everybody that he needed to beyond himself. You just had you said that you notified the executive director, so I just want to clarify that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I have a possible contact myself for a second time in a week and a half. So once he gets test results, which should be tomorrow, with a PCR test, not the rapid test, I'll know if me and the rest of my family are safe. I expect his test to come back negative.
Okay. And also for the other commissioners, I did notify Rom as well, since so both members of the personnel committee were aware of the change in work location for the executive director. So unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with right now. So, but fortunately, everything's in place that we can keep our staff safe and working remote. And luckily, don't have signs, and our staff members were positive have been relatively healthy too, and not going through the extremes. So
yeah. And what I did with the staff members, I spoke to them several times throughout, and you basically just try to, you just ask them what they need. And most people like working and want to work, and we just will cater to anything we can that's reasonable. Regarding me, I don't like working from home or remote. I like being in the office. I find myself more productive, so I would like to get back to the office as soon as possible.
okay. And then also, I don't see it in your note, but can you just give an update on the additional policy, so the commissioners are aware of what Eric drafted regarding the maintenance staff?
I'll let Eric speak on that, since it was his. Let me also clarify. I did not send that out yet.
Okay, then never mind. We'll that hasn't been distributed to the staff yet?
No, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Attorney, would you just briefly summarize what's going to be distributed? Or would you like to hold off since it hasn't been distributed to the staff? I'm not.
Because I have to unmute myself. I'm trying to remember exactly what we did tell the maintenance staff. Hopefully,
I think we were reinforcing the disciplines and standards of operation.
This is not me.
Okay, that's it. That's pretty much what it was. It's a reminder of the policies that we have in place to keep the maintenance staff and the use
in this COVID situation.
Right. So that
we would have less problems than we had, for example, with the interim executive director.
Okay. That's. I just want the board to be aware that we are watching the staff and putting everything in place to make sure that they can work safely as well.
Oh, here it is. It was wearing masks. Effectively, when traveling, even in vehicles, shall wear a mask at all times. Failure to do so will result in discipline against any and all applicable employees. This is for everyone's safety. Okay.
I would get this policy out, Joe, before the week is out, because, as you may or may not be aware, the governor's latest executive order regarding various related items becomes effective at 6 a.m. on Friday. Such as masks, distance, temperature, clipboards. I assume we have that in the building, in the admin building now.
Have what?
Temperature thermometer.
No, we have masks and gloves. April made
we're going to need to take everybody's temperature, and we're going to have them fill out a questionnaire daily.
Is that an executive order?
In fact, executive order 192, effective 6 a.m. Friday.
All right. Can you email that to April and I?
I'll send you a copy of what we're using, and I'll send you a copy of the executive order.
That's 192?
I believe it's 190. If my recollection is correct, it's 190. 2. It's the latest issue relative to the to the second wave that we are currently now in.
All right. So you're saying anyone who enters the building, which is only 4 or 5 of us, has to fill out a survey and take a temperature.
Yes.
Each
Daily.
day? Daily.
Yes, daily.
All right.
What about vendors? What about when we have a
Same.
vendor?
Same. Everybody.
Okay.
All right. Well, listen, it's not many people anyway.
And
So.
frankly, if we can avoid having vendors come in, i.e., unless there's something that they need to look at, if they're merely dropping off kind of stuff, they should probably leave the stuff outside. If they need to come in, then obviously.
Eric, is that all businesses or government entities? How widespread is that executive order?
All businesses, Arnold.
Thank you.
And in fact, basically what he's doing is he's claiming that he's basically doing what local government, et cetera, has been required to do. All right, Joe.
So does that mean if you walk into a store like Home Depot or Target, you have to have your temperature taken?
Yes.
Good.
I know when I go down to the State House for a voting session, they put us through that. I mean, we don't fill out a survey. They pin your forehead with a temperature, and and they verify you're wearing a mask.
And masks need to remain on in the building unless you are in your office with the door closed, or you're the only one in the entire place.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's easy enough because everybody has their own office and can easily close the door. And when we do talk with each other, we wear masks.
I just sent you the order. If anyone else wants it, let me know.
Okay.
I would like to see that, Eric, if you could send that, please.
Joe, can we stop the tape for 10 seconds?
Stop the tape?
Yes, please.
I don't know.
Mine too, Eric?
No, I just want, I don't want Arnold's email on the,
No, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Anyone else?
All right. So
Thank you.
moving on, regarding the escrow maintenance accounts, tonight we're releasing 3 escrow accounts for the month. We also did receive guidance from our legal counsel regarding the workflow, which is still in development by staff and in progress on how to handle the accounts where we can't find them or they lack a response to our request to close out the accounts and to receive their money, basically involving the Department of Treasury, and we basically send the money to the state, let them hold on to it. Connections. Christian, Mr. Santiago, can you speak of the connections for the month?
Sure, Joe. Thank you. So for the month, we have 5 new connections. They were all for one project. It was on Western Canal Road. And it's a warehouse building. And let's see. So current to date, we have 22.5. And the total expected is 225.5.
Excellent. Thank you, Christian.
So, Christian, that's what, 1/10 roughly?
Say that again? I'm sorry.
That's 1/10 of the anticipated connections, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do expect most of them the end of spring, like near spring. So So if the questions, do I sense any concern? As of now, I don't sense concern. If it starts getting to maybe February, and we're still around this number, then I would be a little more concerned. But I think as of now, it's safe to say that I would say it's green.
Okay. Right, because I'm sure some of them are like developments, like the one going on Cedar Grove at New Brunswick. So that would be like 30 something units all at once that would probably come online also. So I'm sure they'll come in bulk.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. All right. And FYI to everybody, I just sent it to your authority. They forwarded on the executive order to your authority email. So if you don't get it, let me know.
All right, moving on. Continuation of waiving the interest penalty for late payments. This is something I think we discuss every month by the board. So before you start deliberating or deciding on that, as it pertains to the penalty, let me just bring up this report. The penalties seem to be typical this year of last year. When the report is basically at 100%, that means it's the exact same this year as last year. And it ranges anywhere, April was 94%, March was 86%. That meant we generated less than last year. And then May was 112, then June 109, July 115, then August 118. September was 100%, was the exact same. And then this last month, October, was 94%. It was actually lower. We had less than last year of October. So we're basically, from March to now, we're basically the same as last year. So you can interpret that as you will, if you use that in your consideration to continue the fee or not.
So
I'm sorry, continue the waiver of the penalty fee.
So Commissioner Ford and Commissioner Tuari, I believe last month you had asked us to consider extending it till the end of the year, and I said that we would do the month to just confirm again we want to be there. Is that the desire still to extend this through December 31st and then sort of start the new year back with our implementing the fees, or is there any change in that thought from last month?
Well, the new year, Chairman, would really start now because our billing cycle starts now.
Okay. Sorry, I mean calendar year.
Okay. Because we have 3 years. We have the billing cycle year, we have the calendar year, and we have the budget year.
I think according to our attorney, we might have 4 other years somewhere in our employee handbook policies also. But
my dog has 7 other years.
In this case, I'm envisioning holiday year of, calendar year of December 31st transitioning into January 1st. So I want to gauge if that's what we want to do, or if there was a change in thoughts or approach that the commissioners wanted. And I open it to all commissioners. I just know that the 2 of you last month had strong opinions on this. So. All right. Any commissioner, any thoughts on this?
I just want to be clear with what the interim executive director said about. I guess I really didn't understand. So that the amount last is the same as the amount this year that's sold at this time, or no?
Yeah. So as far as people paying on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they don't pay on time, historically we would charge them a late fee, and that late fee is a percentage. I think it's 1%. It's a late fee. So if there was any indication from the paradigm of the authority on the economic stress of our community, it would be how much people are not paying their bills on time, and that indication would be that 1%. How much money is that generating? So I do every month. I do a comparison of that month to the month of last year, and I'm sorry, not only to the month of last year, the month before that. No, just 1 year. I'm looking at the report and I don't know why I misspoke. I compare this year and last year, month to month. So my comment and observation is that month to month from this year to last year, we're approximately the same. Maybe we're an average, if I would average it, we're 5% off. So there's not a lot of indication using that tool that there's economic stress in our community as it relates to the sewer bills. Because we're generating just slightly more than last year before the pandemic.
Okay.
So, Will, I don't have. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So I do not have a strong opinion about it.
All right, now you're breaking up.
It will be cleaner if we start it on next year, that is. That's all. New year, that will be cleaner, and that's the only point I have. That's the only point I have. I can see my mute unmute button going back and forth. So I don't know if you heard me completely, but
Yes.
like I said, I do not have any strong opinions about it. I would like to hear what others have to think.
Okay. I'll go around the room then at the screen. Rom?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thoughts extend for another month, start resuming as of December 1st. What are...
I mean, I think we should do what the township is doing. I think I expressed that the last time, so I'm still saying the same.
Okay. Arnie?
I need to ask Ram, what is it the township is doing?
So the township has been charging late fees for the past couple months now. So the municipality was seeing similar to what Joe had mentioned, that there was very little change for year over year. So the municipality stopped forgiving late fees as of either late July or August. So there are penalties on water bills and other bills there. So they stopped basically the penalty-free late payments.
I would say go through the end of the year and then pick it up in January.
Okay. Jesus?
Same with Arnold. I think December 31st would be a good date to reinstate it.
Okay. So with that, it sounds like the general consensus is, while not, as was pointed out, not in line with the billing year, but in line with just the calendar year for the ease of mind of the ratepayers, we would need a motion to extend the waiving of interest for late penalties through December 31st, in which case on January 1st, we would resume charging interest on late fees. Is that the correct? If that's correct, then we would need a motion and a second.
I'll make that motion if I'm allowed to.
I'm seeing a head shake no, because Commissioner. So we have Commissioner Ford made the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Hayes.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
You're muted, April.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Alcazar?
Yes.
Mr. Allison?
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. All right. So that's the discussion item, and we have a motion, and that's passed. So, moving along.
Thank you, Chairman. Middlesex County Utilities Authority, Christian did ask for a modified estimated payment amount. Christian, can you add any more details to the status of that?
Yeah, no problem, Joe. So basically, each year what MCOA does is they provide us a estimated bill. And what happens is each quarter we pay a chunk of the estimated bill. And then at the end of the year, whatever the difference is between estimated and actual, then the authority pays. So the history of the situation is usually our estimated bill is lower than the actual. So what ends up happening at the end of the year, the authority has to spend a lot of money. So for example, last year, I believe we spent around $500,000 because the estimated was a lot lower than the actual. So basically, what Joe decided to do, which I think is a good idea, is we just increase our estimate. So this way, instead of paying a large chunk at the end of the year, we pay a little more each quarter. And we had to make an appeal to Middlesex County Utilities Authority, and they approved it. So we should, starting on the next year, we should receive a higher estimated bill, but that means at the end of the year that we pay less between the difference of actual and estimated. So it was approved, so we're good to go.
Thank you, Christian. One of the reasons I asked to do this is, if we go 3 months in our budget cycle, which is 25% of the budget year, and I look at my expense report, but we only spent 18% of our money, that would indicate to one of you that, hey, you know what, we're spending less money than we budgeted. Maybe it looks like we're frugal, but it's really unfair to you to give you that sort of comparison, knowing that there is an expected large chunk of money we have to spend at the end of the year. So that percentage that looks like we're saving would get larger as the year goes by, but it's really misleading. By paying a more accurate amount to MCUA quarterly, would give us more accurate and transparent report to you on a monthly basis, specifically at the quarter year marks.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So southbound Brook, not much has moved with that, and it's not our fault. I know what you're all thinking. It's probably Eric Bernstein's fault, but that would not be accurate at this time. So while minding my own business and exiting Quick Check in southbound Brook, I was approached by Christina Fisher.
While on quarantine?
No, while isolated. Christina Fisher goes, "Oh, Joe Danielson. Listen, when are you guys going to sign that agreement? We understand that you refused to sign." So I had to give her a little lesson in sewer, and I mean, she really just didn't understand why we had a position, but she ended with, "Oh, our council will never sign that," and I'm like, "Okay, but we're still sending you our sewer." So I did recommend, I said, listen, I recommended to her, I said, well, why don't you contact MCUA and see what their other customers are doing that are in your predicament. Like Milltown and New Brunswick have, Franklin and New Brunswick have. And so I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I don't know if any of you know the people on the Southbound Brook Council, but I'll just say this: you should not, they're an interesting group. So this may not have a quick resolution. It may just linger.
Yeah, they've been apparently saying things to other elected officials who have nothing to do with anything related to utilities also. So I got some feedback on that. So we'll continue to work on this.
Yeah. All right. Nothing to report on Union. New Brunswick sewer bill. Christian, you want to give a status of that? I'm sure it's short.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, sure. So, as an update, so last month, so we basically gave them a deadline, saying by October 31st, you have all the information. Please send us a revised bill. So October 31st came and passed, and we haven't received anything. So we kind of had a discussion in office what to move forward. So we decided to initiate the conversation ourselves. So I'm working currently with Joe Gamella, CME, to prepare an invoice ourselves. And we're going to basically send it to New Brunswick. And that way we initiate the conversation because we think that's the best path moving forward.
Thank you, Christian. Christian, since you're on the line, why don't you move on to the archiving documentation? Just give a quick status of that.
Yeah, no problem. So basically, so we have archives in our back room. So basically, in our storage room. So we want to have a scanning company come in to basically scan several drawers we have. And to do that, we contacted a few vendors to give us price quotes. So we have a list of 3 vendors, and there's one vendor that's kind of the eyeball cheap, 7,000. And Joe's concern was basically the workflow of how they were going to scan, and how is it going to be stored. So I've been in contact with them, and I believe we have a plan in place. So the next step is basically probably by our next board meeting, I'll just consult with you, Joe. And then if we have enough funds, then I think we're good to move forward. The fund is around $7,000, so we have to see if that's in the budget, but that's where we are currently.
Yeah, well, we have the money for such a thing. I think it's important, just to the board members, I think it's important that we do this. It has several benefits. One, once it's archived electronically, we can protect it easily. We could find it easily, and we could reproduce it easily. Lastly, the cost of maintaining archive documents is a building. You have to pay the building. You have to use your square footage. That comes at a cost. So we're going to move forward, and hopefully at some point we could go forward with an archiving program that's easy and manageable, where we can simply digitize documents on the fly.
Question that I have is, when you archive those, digitize them, when you print out a copy of what is in that archive, is that considered an original document?
No, it's not an original document. Doesn't need to be.
Would you be interested in having it in that capacity, where when you print it out, it would be considered an original document?
Well, if you print it out, it would be an original copy.
No, I'm asking you, would you be interested in a system where if you print it out, it would be considered an original document?
Interesting.
The reason that I ask is because when I worked for Union County, we bought a system where you archive things in it, and you used a very specific printer. The printer cost like $7,000. This was about 4 years ago. And anything you put into that system, when you printed it out, it was considered a legal document, an original legal document.
Well, Commissioner Schmidt, at a minimum, I'm curious. Being a technology guy, I would love to learn more about that. So, yeah, let's do it.
Why don't you two talk offline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Schmidt, let's talk offline about that. We do have to move forward because Commissioner Tawari needs to leave by 8 now, and there's some votes that need to take place before then.
Sounds good.
Okay. So bankruptcy audit of accounts in progress. Everything's going good. All those properties are going to tax sale, with the exception of 4. We're reviewing to bring in a new disability broker. All staff have cell phones, and at some point time in the near future, they'll have computers for their homes. Community virus monitoring, that's a program in process. Smoke testing program is active, and I expect within the next month for us to do our first smoke testing in the Somerset Street pump station area. Cross training is in progress. Will be within the next quarter. April, where are we with the TD Bank and Bank of New York signature cards? What's our next step we have to take with that?
I actually got the documents from the Bank of New York, which I will be sending on to Chairman Galtieri and Commissioner Tuari. And I have one for you as well, Joe. That's Bank of New York. And I also am in receipt of the signature cards for TD Bank. I'll also be including them with the board packet this week for signatures, and then I'll take them over.
Excellent. Thank you, April. All right, Chairman, that concludes the Executive Director's report.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for our Interim Executive Director? Hearing none. Do we have anything for operations report? I know Scott's been out, but is there anything to report for that? No?
I'm sorry, Chairman, say that again.
Is there anything for the operations report? I know Scott's out, but I didn't see anything in the packet, so.
No, there is no operations report, but I did communicate with them, and everything's running smooth and nothing remarkable to report.
Okay. All right, Christian reported on connections and special projects was probably included in the other. All right, moving on to committee reports. Negotiations and personnel, it's the only thing we have to report is that staff is continuing to be monitored for COVID-19 and we're taking all precautions. And as I said, mentioned, the executive order has been distributed to all commissioners to see. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our attorney. Municipal liaison, anything?
I can't recollect anything that has to be reported here.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll make an interpretation of which I'll paraphrase. Thank you to the authority for doing some of the manhole repairs or preparation for during the road paving as the season ends. So kudos to the staff for taking care of that as they always do. Construction, anything additional to add? Besides what Joe Kamel had reported and Howard's reported?
None that I know of, Chairman.
Okay. And then safety, we had the report on our personnel related to COVID. So fortunately, it sounds like those are the only health concerns that we have to worry about right now. So, and the staff will continue to maintain. All right. Moving on to item number 10, the approval of resolutions will be done by consent agenda. All of the items listed below are considered to be of routine nature, thereby requiring one motion and 1 second for all items. If any member wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda or has a question, please advise me at this time which resolution or resolutions need to be handled separately, and they will be addressed and voted on separately. We have resolution number 1104-2020-1, payroll account of $149,900.59. Resolution number 1104-2020-2, operating expense account of $1,704,232.62. Resolution number 1104-2020-3, general fund of $500,000. Resolution number 1104-2020-4, renewal and replacement, $49,701.20. And resolution number 1104-2020-5, escrow fund of $21,976.71. Is there, if there are no concerns for this or questions, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion, Ram.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that was Commissioner Ford. Roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. Moving on to additional resolutions. All right, resolution number 1104-2020-6, resolution authorizing the appropriation and transfer of the sum of $500,000 to the Township of Franklin pursuant to the provisions of the local authorities fiscal control law. Is there a motion?
Motion Tiwari.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Hold on, 1 second. Mr. Embarrasson, I think you have to abstain.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Embarrasson and Mr. Galtieri are ineligible to vote on this resolution because they are members of the Franklin Township Council.
I forgot. I
But
abstained.
you're on the council?
It's just a bad dream,
Yes.
I promise.
Oh.
All right, so Commissioner Ford, we're up to.
so Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
A.
Mr. Tawari.
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Galtieri abstains.
Yes. I abstain, not yes, abstain. All right, I'm sure there's 7 council members that will be thanking you. Moving on, resolution number 1104-2020-7, resolution announcing the 2021 annual schedule of meeting dates. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second, Ram.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. All right, resolution number 1104-2020-8, resolution to remove $588.15 relative to the account number 12947, Full Gospel Temple Praise, located at 135 Victor Street B, Somerset, New Jersey, from billing which was capped in April 2019. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Surendra.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. Moving on, resolution number 1104-2020-9, resolution of the Township of Franklin Sewerage Authority declaring its official intent to reimburse expenditures for project costs from the proceeds of debt obligation in connection with its participation in the New Jersey Infrastructure Bank. Is there a motion?
Motion, Ram.
Is there a second?
Second Tiwari.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. Moving on to resolution number 1104-2020-10, supplemental resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $7,500,000 project notes of the Township of Franklin Sewage Authority. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Jesus.
Okay, is there a second?
Second Tiwari.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Alcazar,
Yes.
Mr. Ambaranson,
Yes.
Ms. Ford,
Yes.
Mr. Tawari,
Yes.
and Chairman Galtieri.
Yes. All right. I don't believe we have an executive session tonight. Is that correct? Also, with that, Mr. Tawari, we finished before 8 o'clock for you. So what I want to do is I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I know that's still a couple weeks away, but we won't meet before then. So everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy. I wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you can somehow enjoy it in some safe way with your loved ones and any other friends or family that you might spend time with. So with that, if there's nothing else, then I believe the next is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Tiwari.
Hey, all those in favor of finishing before 8 o'clock for the first time in a while, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.